Berwick upon Tweed. It's been one of the most important towns in both Scotland and England. It's in England now, but its football team plays in the Scottish League. It may still be officially at war with Russia, and for hundreds of years there's been a wall all the way around it. Berwick truly is a town like no other. As its mighty ramparts still bear witness today, it's been shaped by centuries of bloody conflict. 900 years ago, it was one of Scotland's first two royal boroughs and a bigger trading port than Edinburgh. But then, King Edward I, Hammer of the Scots, captured it for England. Robert the Bruce took it back for Scotland. Edward III recaptured it for England, and the tug of war went on for 2 centuries. Berwick changed hands 13 times, until it was finally taken for England by the future King Richard III. And you can still see reminders of those turbulent times in the ruins of Berwick Castle and the medieval walls. But these weren't the walls that made Berwick famous. As gunpowder artillery got more powerful, stone walls like these became vulnerable. For strong defence, you needed something more formidable. And Berwick's ramparts were built by one of England's most formidable monarchs, Queen Elizabeth I. With the threat of invasion now coming from both Scotland and France, Elizabeth wanted Berwick's defences to be state-of-the-art. She employed Europe's top fortification experts from Italy. And like so many defence contractors, they ran behind schedule and over budget. The final bill was over £126,000. Today, we'd probably be talking billions, and it was the largest public spend in Queen Elizabeth I's reign, making the town into one gigantic fortress with walls that have never been breached. They may have been costly, but those walls were built to last. Over 400 years later, you can still walk them all the way around the town. You can get onto them just round the corner from the visitor centre, and the full circuit will take you about half an hour. On the way round, you'll see our 3 royal bridges. The oldest was a gift from Queen Elizabeth's successor. When she died, King James VI of Scotland rode south to be crowned King James I of England. He didn't think much of our old wooden bridge, so he paid for a new one, more in keeping with the town's importance. It's carried the main London to Edinburgh road for 300 years, right up until the Royal Tweed Bridge was built in the 1920s. Opened by Edward, Prince of Wales, this was admired for its Art Deco elegance and its bold use of concrete. It was the UK's longest concrete span and longest road bridge. Behind it, you can see the Victorian Royal Border Bridge. Completing the rail link from London to Edinburgh, this was the largest structure of its kind in the world. The Victorians showed their passion for progress by demolishing part of Berwick Castle to make way for the railway. Some of the stones were used to build the bridge, and Queen Victoria gave her seal of approval by travelling up to declare the bridge open.
We are quite amazed.
But Berwick isn't just about kings and queens. Our parish church was one of the few built during Oliver Cromwell's rule. In line with Puritan principles, it had no steeple, no stained glass and no bells. The stained glass windows have been added more recently, but the bell ringers still have to peel off down the road. To this place, it was the Guildhall, the Town Hall, the courtroom and the jail, all in one 18th century building. It's one of only 2 town halls in England with a full set of bells. The Guildhall is still used for council meetings, public events and bell ringing, but the jail is now only for visitors. You can see the cells as part of a guided tour. Not far from the Guildhall, you'll find another, much larger 18th century building. Berwick's vital role in the defence of the realm meant the town was full of soldiers, hundreds of them. And they were billeted in the townsfolk's homes, which wasn't at all popular. Until someone thought of building a barracks. Perhaps surprisingly, this was rather a novel idea. It's one of the first barracks ever built in this country, and thanks to Hawksmoor's elegant design, it's not bad looking either. Today, it's home to our annual Food and Beer Festival and a variety of other events. As well as 3 museums and an art gallery. These include the Regimental Museum of the King's Own Scottish Borderers. I know, English town, Scottish regiment, but this is Berwick. And Berwick's always been, well, a bit of a law unto itself. And that's why we're still at war with Russia, or so they say. Now, because of our history, many formal public documents named Berwick upon Tweed separately, alongside Great Britain and Ireland, including, it's said, the declaration of the Crimean War. But in the treaty that ended the war, Berwick's name was missing. So we declared war, but never made peace. Well, it's a nice story, even if it isn't quite true. And we did get to keep this handsome Russian cannon, captured in the Crimea. And speaking of stories, meet John Mackay Wilson, creator of Wilson's Tales of the Borders. As editor of the local paper in the 1830s, he began publishing stories based on local history and legend. The collection grew to over 400 ripping yarns, which outsold even the best-selling novels of Sir Walter Scott. And they stayed in print for over a century. You can see a display on Wilson's Tales here in the Visitor Centre, along with the Tweed 1000 tapestry. This tapestry marks the 1,000 years since the Tweed was established as the Scottish border in 1018. It was created entirely by local volunteers. Now, for most of these 1,000 years, Berwick was a busy shipping and fishing port. There was a thriving industry processing, curing and smoking herring, and huge quantities of salmon were caught by netting teams along the Tweed. There's just one team left now, and if you're lucky, you can see them at work from the quayside or the old bridge. The technique hasn't changed for centuries. The big market for these salmon was London, and you'd get a much better price if you got them to market fresh, not salted. By the end of the 18th century, that was possible all year round, thanks to this, ice. At one time, Berwick's ice houses could store 2,000 tonnes of it. And you can still see ice houses dotted around the town today. This one's so big, you could store 5 double-decker buses in it. Fast sailing boats called Berwick smacks could get the fish to London in as little as 24 hours. Now, by the 20th century, the fishing industry was in decline, but tourism was on the rise. Spittal, across the river, was a popular spa and beach resort, and there are fine beaches on both sides of the river. One regular visitor was the artist L.S. Lowry. He holidayed here from the 1930s to the 1970s and made many sketches and paintings around the town. If you follow the Lowry Trail, you'll see examples of these on the very spot where he drew them, so you can see exactly what inspired him. Today, Berwick has a flourishing creative community of artists and writers. We have 3 public art galleries, as well as commercial galleries, a thriving arts centre, a highly regarded film festival, and a growing literary festival. What draws so many creative people here? Perhaps it's because Berwick's still a bit of a law unto itself. People here like to do things a bit differently. Take the time to explore our back streets and you'll see that originality reflected in quirky shops and a remarkable variety of pubs, bars, cafes and restaurants. From its biggest fridge freezer to its tiniest coffee bar, Berwick really is a town like no other. Enjoy your visit.